If you look at the timeline, you'll notice there's this little rainbow box. That means that we adjusted and applied some color correction to it. Now, if you want to remove that, you click the remove effect. There's one in the color correction window. There's also one down here on the timeline. Click remove effect, and as long as you have the cursor on that clip and the proper track selected, remove effect. Okay, so we have nothing there. Everything is clean. If there was a general look, like let's make believe we wanted to have everything in black and white. We want it to all be black and white. And these are clips we're going to use in a little bit. So instead of going to each clip, what we could do is select the track above. Notice here, this is all on video 1. So I'm going to select video 2. And what will happen is that even though we're seeing there's nothing on track 2, so we're seeing underneath, we can apply a general tone, change, grading to track 2. Let's do it the simplest way would be, let's get rid of all the color, bringing the master saturation down. And notice once I did that, it goes black and white, but it also adds a color correction icon and fills in that previously black video 2 layer. So we have now put kind of this filter over everything to be black and white. And by the way, real black and white, if we were pretending it was shot in black and white, is not just removing the color, but adding a little contrast. How are we going to do that? I know. Let's pop up a little bit of midtone, bring down, meaning going to the darker corner. Let's bring this over a little bit, give it a little more contrast. Maybe I'm going to bring down the highlights, perhaps, And so here we have a little bit more contrasting. Oh, there's the original, the color and everything. This is a little bit more contrasting now and more of a black and white film look. And again, you have to play with all this stuff to get it right. Sometimes, as you can see here, one application will not necessarily be good for every clip. In that case, you could go to the individual clip and deselect 2 and then select 1. And by looking through the filter that you put on top, you can adjust the one shot that perhaps needs a little something. Maybe this shot needs a little more. There you go. See how the midtone kind of lightens everything up instead of just bringing up the highlights. But I still want that black. I like to have it rich blacks, and maybe I bring it up. And so that one shot now is adjusted. Look at the timeline. You can see the video 2 general layer on there, and this one clip is adjusted, and there might be others too. So this way, that's a general way you can adjust things, and it doesn't have to be just black and white. You could have given a certain tone to it, etc. So how do we deal with these separate colors? Let's first remove this effect from both. I'm going to select both tracks, sit on both tracks here, click remove effect, and it removes it from both. Notice it totally deletes video 2. Now, here's a mistake you're going to make again and again and again and again, which I do, is you think you're color correcting this shot, and in effect, you're putting something on video 2 layer because it's activated. Okay, you can't really tell. Other than the fact that the previous shot window shows nothing. That's a little clue. So if I delete that and select only video 1, notice that all of a sudden it does show me the previous shot. So that's a little clue, but you'll make the mistakes, and that's how you learn. And, Command Z or remove effect will help you. So let's talk about adjusting the tonality. Let's just sit here on this shot. And that would be using the curve windows for red, green, and blue. And how could we measure that? We're going to go to a different scope. The scope, I'm going to be honest, I normally default to, called RGB parade. RGB parade gives you the separate waveform for red, green, and blue. The combination of red, green, and blue, the various combinations, will give you the color picture that we express. So we look at something. Now, this is a pretty balanced natural picture, and you could see that the values are pretty much the same, right, from top to bottom. Not much different, maybe a little more green, a little more blue than red. So let's just see what happens if we start playing with those. Let's go to the red and grabbing it from the middle. Let's raise that. You can see the red going up and the picture getting actually a little bit more red, or very much more red. Okay, I'm going to option reset that. Same with green and blue. And I could take a color out if I want a certain look. Let's make it very warmish. And so I'm taking the blue out. And what does that do? Look how it's changed the scope. Okay, there's less blue involved. And depending on what I want, maybe I'll raise up the darkest parts. And we see how that's gone up. And we see the change in the picture. And maybe that's a look that I want. And maybe I want to play around. Just grab some way here and add some more red, whatever. I mean, that's if you're giving it a specific look. But if we want to make it more naturalistic, if we have some footage that has a blue tint or something to it we want to change, that's when we can adjust these, and that's when this RGB parade helps. So normally when you have a shot, and I'm going to reset these, okay, make sure everything's reset, it can be if you look at it and the RGB parade meaning in a row, the three waveforms for each color, if they're pretty equal, then you could say, well, that's a well-balanced shot. I'm in good shape. You'll see that it's well below the 100, but it doesn't always have to be, because there's really no, at 100 means it's be something bright, like we saw in the white clouds, or if there's a bright light or a white sky. But if that doesn't exist, then perhaps this is the natural lighting. If you want to make it a little brighter, well, you can use the master gain, and that'll bring everything up a little bit. But that, sometimes that's an aesthetic call on your part.
You had to make a big decision. Where does the tree live in your world? Look around and decide, there he is. There he is. Maybe he's got a little crook right there in the bottom. Just make up little stories. Give these trees names and stuff. Make them your friends. Make them your friends. Talk to them. It doesn't matter if people think you're crazy, Painters are noted for being a little weird anyway. We can get away with things like that.